Alright, hey guys. I'm going to pick up where I left off on this body that I was doing for a buddy of mine. Basically, I had a talk with him. He had elaborated a little bit more on what he wanted. I knew the character. I didn't really have details into the vision for the end product. There's this hat that was released in game at some point. I think it might have been Christmas items. He has this hat, and basically he wants something to go with this hat. And the other interesting point was I was originally imagining this was going to be indexed, but apparently he doesn't want it indexed. So I'm going to basically just source the colors directly from this image here of this little hat. I got some back view, front view, and side view, and they all seem to have the same colors. I think there's about 6 or 7 colors in there, but let's just quickly do a little palette for that. And then from there we can kind of pull that in and probably improve greatly, especially because we're looking to have it be indexed. In this image here, it would be a little bit more simple, but with the idea that we're not going to index it, we can do a lot more with detail and shading and all kinds of good stuff. So let's get into it. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just drop everything else except for my underlay, which was this kind of cloak image initially. I will probably work with that, but I'm going to use this kind of as an excuse to flip into another layer and do palette. I think that was probably spelled wrong, but whatever. So essentially I want to get both of these images up and be able to ensure that I have full coverage. And oh wow, my brush is super big there. Bring it all the way down. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in and just kind of have a quick assessment here. So I have this yellow color, and this yellow color has a desaturated one. Actually, these are both desaturated. One is a little bit darker, and one is a little bit lighter. So I've got this one, this color here. I've got this color here, which I'm going to put in the middle. And then I've got this darker one. Oh, this one looks like it almost is transparent, but it's not. Okay. And then I think this one is slightly different again. It's a little more saturated than the one above it, unfortunately. So I'm going to zoom in there. Ooh, that was pretty far. Oh no, it's the same color. Great. That makes it even easier. Okay. So I'm just doing little blobs of paint here and picking up the color from the other image. Okay, so I also have the blue scale. So I have the top color here, which is the blue. I'm going to keep it at the midpoint. I have a feeling that's where it belongs. And then I have a darker one. And the lighter one is the highlight here, actually. So again, similarly, I imagine if I look at these, it's probably got a the same color bands. Like if I look at these, they probably have similar saturation throughout as well. Looking at what the artist did here, we probably would see some kind of correlation between the way that they've ramped these up. Like they probably had one color and one color, worked in one color, and then from there they did highlights and lowlights, which is an interesting technique. I'm going to check this one here because I think this might be a little bit brighter as well. Yes, this one is brighter. And I want to see if I'm missing something over here, if it's the same. Oh no, that one's the same. Okay, so this is a different color again. This brown one is getting pulled around a little bit. Okay, so we actually have 4 scale on the color. Just gonna pick these up and move them down, get perfectionist here. I also have, I think, several looks of a darker color. I do see a little bit of shading. There's another color over here that might be the same as this dark blue. Oh, or not. It's, for some reason, it's, oh, I see what's happened. I've got my selector in the wrong spot there. So I want to check this darker blue color and see if it's the same as this one. It is not. Okay, so I have a super dark one there. Do I have another dark? No, that's the same. And I think that's pretty good. I will also copy this one. And I want to see if this is pure black. I can already tell it's not. It's actually just adjusted a little bit. So it's got a little bit of color, but it's not a full black. If it's a full black, then there's problems with transparency and Graal classic images. Okay, so we have a couple of darker colors. I think there's actually a lighter color up here, a slightly lighter black color that might be in between these guys. Let's check the color values again. I think it's identical. Yeah, it's the same color. Cool. So that looks like all the colors that are going to be showing up in that hat. I'm just going to quickly slip over to the other orientations and make sure I'm not missing anything. Looks pretty good. And that answers a lot of questions that we had last time, right? So one of the things that I was thinking about, I'm going to close this one. One of the things that I was thinking about was how we were going to handle the gold chain, for example, or how we were going to look at, you know, the color of his shirt in comparison to the other colors that are going on. So this will allow me to essentially work on the overcoat and any of the gold details. So the buttons, the flaps, the chain, whatever else we're going to have for small detail. Maybe even trim if we get to that point. Okay, so again, I'm going to switch up my layers here. I'm going to look at what I've got and compare. So I have these larger swatches down here as well. And I think the green color is probably going to stay because that was for his shirt. This blue is remarkably similar to this blue, so we probably will pick that up. And then we have these dark colors, and it's interesting because they're almost the same as the ones that we had there. The other one is a skin tone, and the skin tone is pretty darn close to this. But what I'm going to try and do is incorporate these separately, because if these wind up running along that skin tone, what will happen is we'll get, oh, oops, I'm on the wrong layer for that. So if these run along the skin tone, none of them are going to match. Like this is not going to match that skin tone anywhere, so it's going to be very apparent that it's just skin tone. I suppose if I was really a stickler, what I could do is, and I probably should, is go into Graal and pick the color for that skin tone, and then we can just, at the end, basically what we can do is just go through and select by color and then alternate that color. I mean, technically we can do that with any of these colors that we're looking at, but it's something where right at the end is the step, that's the step that you want to take. But the skin tone basically will not have additional shading like the rest of it. So it's a little bit easier to do there. Okay, so I'm going to keep these guys in a line along here so we have our matching color scheme. And I'm going to bring those up to the same layer on the top here just for brevity. Okay, so I have my shirt and my detail color, and then I'm going to take these guys over there as well. I'm going to actually select by color right now. First I'm going to get my dark color. So this is my new dark color. I'm going to select this by color. And I'm going to Shift B to paint bucket, and I'm going to replace that color with the new dark color. So see, it says if I hold Shift, it shows full whole selection. So I'm going to use that and make sure it's done a third time. Okay, the other one I'm going to do is this lower light color. I'm going to take this one here, and I'm tempted not to do it for this particular color because this was like boots, but I am going to go ahead with it just so that it all matches. So I'm going to go select by color, select this color, same thing, Shift B to paint bucket, hold Shift and click, and we'll have our refreshed colors. So that's not too terrible. I think what I'm feeling here, and some comments last time also had, you know, very kindly I might add, pointing out that this, you know, this image here is not very good, and really it was a first sketch, but yeah, looking at it, I agree. I think there's a lot that can be done to improve this, and I mean that really was the intention. I think the main things that I really, in retrospect, want to look at here are the the size of the arms and legs and the fall of this coat. Like this coat, I mean, the way that I was looking at it, it was kind of like wrinkly or something. But I think at this level of magnification, when we're looking at this tiny, tiny little pixel body, I think that it's probably a better idea to go for a little bit chunkier and a little bit less wavy, a little bit less detailed, because we're not going to see this at a high resolution. It's not going to be zoomed in like this, even though it's tempting to have little ripples and, you know, interesting stuff going on. Okay, so that means basically I'm going to eliminate this whole thing. I'm going to remove this. And I'm going to take it off to the side. I'm not going to just get rid of it. So I will take this over here, and I'm going to erase the underlay. Actually, first I'm going to pull some palette color for the work I'm about to do on the underlay. And I'm going to erase this one here, and I'm going to come in with something that's a little bit more Graal. Okay, so especially considering now that we're not going to index it, like I was thinking about it in such a way where when I was working on it initially, I was going to be indexing the whole thing. I like the stance. I want the stance to remain the way that it was. However, I think that we can do a little bit to beef him up, make his arms a little bit longer. I'm also going to pull that down a little bit further over there. And also consider that the body here is quite wide, quite broad. Okay, so I still want to have the same kind of a stance, but I want to be able to accentuate it in such a way where it's obviously a Graal character as well. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. I mean, this looks kind of weird if we do it this way. Maybe the hardness on the, or size on the brush should be a couple less here. Okay, so I'm going to have the arm coming down on the side, maybe to there. I definitely do not want it to go all the way to the edge, but I do want it to increase a little bit. Oh, lost some of my palette there. I also want to be mindful of what the overall appearance of this is going to be. So I want to have it so that the legs are together in such a way where, like, if I'm looking to match that hat, basically, like if I come in and I'm looking at that same kind of style of hat, the graphic that I'm drawing here should actually match that. Right, so the first thing I think of is, okay, so the colors were, you know, it was very kind of solid colors for shading. The detail was not extreme. There wasn't a lot of, you know, creases or folds or, you know, bumps or crinkles or anything like that. So looking at the shape of the object that I'm matching it to, we should probably have a similar style, right? So because of that, what I'm going to do is try and create something that's going to be bulky but still has the same level of character, because that was kind of, it was kind of a little bulky hat. It was not really like a cap that I would expect to see in that style. Okay, so from here I'm gonna accentuate his shoulder and the roll in his hand a little bit more. I'm going to pull this one further out. And I'm going to forego the arm on this side being any much longer, and I'm actually going to eliminate some of this here. And pull it down one right here. So what this is creating is like the one arm is going to be in the front. It's his left arm is coming forward. His left leg is coming forward, and it's not really a, I mean, it's not really a supernatural way that you would see for somebody to stand, but it is going to have a lot of character. And actually, maybe this one can come out instead of going in, because this piece down here is going to be the front of his leg, and this one is going to be kind of jutting out. Oh, it's time for me to go to another smaller one of these. Brushes, that's what I'm talking about. My pencil can get smaller. Okay, cool. So there we go. I'm now going to switch over to my darker color, give me some detail. And though I'm tempted to use this in such a way where I'm marking out the jacket specifically, like if I just want to like draw over it and make it the jacket, I think I could. But I really feel like it needs to be shading and color. So with that in mind, I'm gonna actually have to go down here first because I can't really do that whole thing. And I want the boots to have this around here. Oh, I'm still size 3. Whoops. No wonder it was so big. There we go, size 2. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to keep the boots up like this. Nope. Got to go to 1. Now I'm in the thick of it here. And that guy had some like really fancy shoes. Like his shoes were crazy. But it's probably not going to be the same for here. Okay, so I'm going to accentuate the hand on this side. I'm going to have the shading on the arm going up this way. Actually, interestingly, I'm going to bring shading on the knuckles at the bottom or the bottom of the hand, but I want to have, so I want to have that, I don't want to do banding here, like I don't want to have this band into the top part. It'll look kind of weird. Okay, so then I've got in the original, so if I brought up the original image, I would see there was a big, he had a big collar, so I kind of want to emulate that collar. The way to do that is going to be through use of shadow. Again, this is going to be his shirt area, and I'm really cognizant that last time what I did was actually use the shirt as a guide, kind of, for the whole thing. And I really want to have the emphasis on that jacket coming around and cutting off the back of this hand. So like this hand here is going to come behind, in fact, to the point that we should do this. I'm actually going to cut this off and move it one back to the right. And maybe this whole thing can come out one. Like that. So this is going to be like a chubby Jotaru, more or less. That's what we're running into here eventually. Yeah. Can do that same thing where on this side I have that single line. I'm actually going to bump that up one. But I'm going to take that same light down this side here, and I'm going to use it in my, not in my immediate drawing, but in the future piece where I'm actually coming into the detail. I'm going to go right there. I'm going to leave that. That's an interesting little point of detail that might get eliminated later on, but let's see. And keep one there. Okay. Now I'm going to come down to the bottom, pick this up so I can see that leg shadow going on. Going to hint at some pants. And then I'm going to hint at a belt along here because I know that we got a crazy belt, and that was one of the things that was specifically interesting. Okay, and we got some shading on the pant leg. I'm going to do a little bit more over here too. And then he had some like crazy chest action going on. I'm going to bring this up in here like that. And just an estimate at this point where I want it to be, because it's going to come into the jacket up on the edge here too. And now I'm coming to the situation where I actually need more colors to define what's what here. Okay, so I have this hand. I have, actually I'm going to rip this right here. I'm going to copy it up or cut it up one and maintain the depth on my foot. So this is like the edge of the collar of the shirt coming down this way, or the jacket rather. And I want it to kind of pull in this direction. Oops. And actually it should come out to here, right? I should actually have the whole thing come out this far, but because I'm just working with the two colors right now, it's going to be really tough to do that. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is hint at it. Like that. Okay, so there was also this really bizarre chain. The chain, I don't know what that's about, but it seemed to be pretty significant to his character. And we will have to add the chain, but it will come at a later point, I think. Because at this stage, I only have two colors. If I start drawing circles and chains and things in here, it's going to be a little weird. Let's just blanket this through here, except for one unit. That's going to be his chest. And then the belt is going to come across here. And now I've got a little funny soccer ball that I've drawn. Okay, it's getting there. Yeah, it's going to improve as we continue along. Okay, so I'm going to flip back up to my actual color layer and get started on the real stuff. One thing that I want to do before that is pop this one to the left one more. I know that I'd done the opposite before, but in order to make that work, I probably need that extra little bump. Okay, so he's gonna have this darker color here too. And let's do one last little, it's always one last little thing. Because I don't want to lose the definition of the jacket going down the side over here, but I do want to, you know, have some kind of light coming past this jacket layer. I do want to have it be visible that it's, he's got a shirt or something going on there. I don't know. Looks like a cola can in the middle here. That's okay. I'll work on the middle as we get the colors in there. I think it'll make a little bit more sense. And I'll probably want to mimic at least these four colors for this green as well, because I'll get some green action in the side here. I'll have at least some shadow and some green up here as well. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to flip up to my palette. No, the palette's gone. I can ditch the palette down the bottom. I'm going to put the base layer. So I'm back up to my coloring layer. I'm going to remove my body template at the bottom here and go nuts on my little guy here. Okay, so I know that this was all green. So this whole thing in here was green. And I want to ensure that that jacket is totally green. Or sorry, his shirt is completely green like that. I also left this one right here because I want to have a little button or some kind of a clip similar to all the weird guga, to use an archaic word, that was going on the main original drawing. Then I'm going to start looking at these darker blue colors a little bit more seriously here. So we have, if I count these guys, there's 6 total layers of blue. I think that these are mainly for outline though. I'm tempted to throw the outline in now, but I'm not going to because it will change as we go. So the first step I'm going to take here is basically just throwing all this blue in. Come around here and see what I can do. Actually this one here. I'm going to do this color because this is for the jacket, and the lighter blue color will change as we go. I'm also going to leave this section right here green because it's going to be where the head pops in. Okay, take this blue again, come down here, and that's where I'm going to leave that side on the jacket. I might pull it down in this direction a little bit, but I want it to be less. On this side, I'm going to do the same thing. I know that this is all going to be blue in here, but I really want those highlight colors as well. Oops, messed that one up. And then this the entire side down to here is going to be blue, and then this is going to be skin tones. Okay, so now I'm going to go one up from there, and I'm going to look at the next level of detail in the blue. So I have this kind of sort of lighter blue color here that I'm playing with. I want that collar to be really accentuated again. I'm going to shade this a little bit, even though it wasn't in the original plan along here. Oh, 1 pixel for character there. Let's see if that sticks around. Also do the same thing. Gets a little bit less common to see the light reflecting off of stuff as it gets a little further down. Go like that. And then I'm going to take my highest level of blue and go along all my edges. It's going to be another clip up here. And you can see really quick where there's stuff that's going to be extraneous, like this is completely pointless to have here. But I do want a little bit of character on the sleeve here, so it kind of stands out. We'll see if it sticks in the final, but that's what I'm doing for now. I'm going to do the same thing right here, soften that edge a little bit. And I'm going to pull in the gold for the first time. Actually, you know what, let's make it the darker one. Easier to do dark and then highlight for me, I don't know. How about you guys? Not sure. I like to think about where the light is coming as opposed to where the shadow is going, if that makes sense. Actually, I'm going to pull that one and that one right there. Do the opposite here. I'm going to pull the light in the top of the buckle like that. And that's probably not going to work out, but we'll have a look at the midway point. Okay, so the other thing that I'm thinking here is I'm going to pull these little lighter colors down here and then do a little bit of edge and get that green to come all the way to the edge here. Now what I've done inadvertently is actually eliminated the collar, but we'll work with that. I think the collar on this side is going to be a little stiffer anyway. Okay, so come to think of it, I need to do my edges along here. And that's a skin tone. Okay, so I've come to my skin tone. I'm going to make a very small hand on this side. I'm going to make a considerably larger hand on this side. And then I want to use my darker one for shading. And again, this is probably a little bit too much detail for a hand. Technically, I could probably do the same thing over here and be like that, and that would still show up. If I look at my actually, no, let's look at the body template. It's pretty small, but it's looking a little bit more like a Graal body at this point. I think I'm going to make this one larger, and that way I can pull the colors a little bit better. I can actually kind of take the stuff for the pants a little bit more seriously. So speaking of which, for the pants, I have 2 essential colors here, and they're going to match with this up here. Oops. I'm going to do one right there. I'm going to go for a very strong line down the middle, because this is a very... this one straight line here is where all the character from this entire piece is coming. I'm also going to probably spoof his boots a little bit. Probably not going to be exactly as they could be, but we'll see. As this comes along here, it becomes very apparent that this is going to be a belt coming across. I think he had a bright green belt, if I remember correctly, and it was really flashy, so we'll have to do something for that. Still thinking about how it's going to look or what it's going to be. This blue color is going to come down, get pulled in, and I'm going to have to go one down here and then one down there. Basically, the idea is as you come, like as I'm looking up from the top of the character, the light on the top of the character is going to be more prominent. And I think at this point it's probably way too much the way that I've done it, but it's easier to do too much and dial back than it is to kind of inch your way towards that goal. Okay, so I've got like an extreme amount of light. I've got all these highlights up here, and it drips all the way down to here. I'm probably going to dial that back as I go along with the piece. Okay, so from there, basically I'm going to take this darkness and I'm going to bring it in here, and I'm going to try and accentuate this corner. Because what will happen is when this gets an outline on it, it'll look a lot different to have a little light patch down here. It'll really accentuate this, and it'll make it look like a little corner on that jacket as opposed to being something else. Okay, and again, I've got such a range on these blue colors, I can probably dip a little darker down here. So I will take the shadows a little seriously on this side, and I know that these are going to be a little darker already. Because it's for one thing, it's on the other side of the jacket. Like the jacket, the light is coming from the top or in the front, kind of like where he's standing. If it's hitting him in the chest, this section here is going to be a little darker. In fact, to the point that I can probably do this as well and get away with it quite handily. Handily. Okay, so I'm going to take these darker colors here, and it's interesting because this dark color is it's quite dark still. I've got this kind of purple effect going on. But with this jacket line coming down here, which needs a little bit of love right there, needs something. With the jacket coming down like this, it's going to become apparent that this is a separate piece of fabric, and it will be really good. Be able to see that at a high level when it doesn't blend in. So I think what I will do to emphasize that is that's probably enough. Okay, so then I'm going to take the darker color, which is my actual black color, and I'm going to do his boots. Come along the bottom here, and I'm going to go up to the lighter shade on this side. Again, this is where all of the character comes from. Like this entire stance is like this 1 foot standing forward, right? So basically I'm going to take this and make a little boot. Make a little boot about it. I'm going to take one darker from the other shade here, and I'm going to make that the prominent color on his other pant leg, which is going to give way to the boot the same way. Like so. I'm going to also remove that 1 pixel so that it looks like the pant leg is kind of coming behind the boot, and I'm going to erase these 2 right here. And darken those ones. Let's see how that looks at a high level when we get there. Okay, so I'm also going to take this one, the same color, and do that. I would like these to kind of blend, but I would also like there to be a very defined separation between the two. He's got a really rectangular foot on this side. That boot is looking like a tissue box or something, I don't know. And I think I have to go one back over on this one here. Let's see how that works. Okay, so from there, I have light on this side. I'm gonna kind of pull it down a little bit. Let's go for this one. And I would really like it to be different, but the same for both of these. So that said, I have to kind of emphasize the rumples in the pants. He's got little jeans on or something, I guess. Okay, so that's getting there. I still need to figure out this belt thing. I also need to tone these down. So I have this jacket here. I have all the possible highlights on here basically right now. And I'm going to dial it back. So I will take a bunch of this and leave a couple here and there just for glimmer. This one is definitely going to be darker right here. This actually needs to be darker as well because it's coming up behind the jacket. The edge of that jacket is going to be very strong. And also the armpit. So like coming into the armpit here, there's going to be some character. The other part is over here where I'm going to have this arm, which is going to be a little bit darker all the way along. Coming up with some shading. And my armpit on my right arm, this is my right arm even though it's on the left, the armpit on the right arm should be higher than the armpit on the left arm because my left arm is in the foreground and my right arm is in the background. So I'm going to try to emphasize that, I suppose. I really need to get this guy his crazy collar going on. It's not quite there yet, and I'm going to move this down, this light patch, because it's underneath the jacket. Okay, I'm going to take a step back here, zoom out and have a look where we are compared to where we were. It's like a black jacket as opposed to a kind of a blue something. Getting there. I think with an outline around it and an improvement on that boot in the corner here, I think we're doing pretty well. Okay, so I'm going to throw an outline on it just for now. I'm pretty happy with the profile of it, and I think that there's going to be some improvements when we get some shading going on in the other colors as well. Okay, so throwing an outline is not super hard in GIMP. You can do it multiple ways. This is really the long cut way. If you want to do a shortcut, you can copy the entire image of what you have. And from there, I'm actually going to leave this bottom section right here blank. Once you've copied the edge, will be identical, right? So after you take your, oh, that needs to come out. After you take your copy of it and paste it on another layer, basically what you can do is to shift it around and create your edge. Okay, so this is going to be right where I start my collar action, right there. And I want the collar on the right-hand side to be taller, so that needs to come up. And I'm going to need to shift this whole thing down now and bring it across like this. And define his collar. Okay, so the collar is going to come like that. Oh, trying to pull the color, it's not coming. Behave, color, behave. Color or collar? Color. All right, so this is going to be skin tone. We're never going to see that skin tone, essentially. There's going to be a head in the way. But there is a collar to a degree. Okay, I'm going to throw the dark shade in here as well. The darker ones. Because as we throw in more of these darker ones, it actually defines where the objects are sitting. Same thing with this skin tone. All of this in here would be dark at the top, right? Because we're going to have basically a big shadow coming down from the collar. I mean, it is kind of silly, but it is what it is right there. Okay. The next part I want to get to is those little details. So there needs to be some additional decoration going on. I'm gonna blank this up. He does have a mad shoulder pad going on over here. D. 2, 2, 1. 1. There we go. And actually that has the right to be a little bit stiffer, come to think of it. So I'm going to bring this over and make these guys it's a collar. Okay, so I'm going to take my gold details, grab a couple of gold details over here, put it in like so. I use this one. And I will accentuate it by darkening the sleeve there instead of highlighting it like I was going to. Also going to add 1 pixel right there. And the idea is I want to create a little crook in the arm. I feel like this should come out a couple. Get a little darker right there. This is going to be where the belt goes, which needs to be a brighter color. And I will need to probably source that. Okay, I'm also going to take this one and darken it a little bit and create a new color in my palette. I'm going to also saturate it a little bit more. So I could just bring it straight down on this axis, and that's to darken it, but I'm actually going to bring it over to the right a little bit as I go, and that's going to give it a little bit more depth and color. And, oh, it didn't keep, I didn't maintain it. Okay. And then from there I can go in here and add detail. So I have that, that really defined light edge at the top there. So one of the comments that I read last time was that this guy's supposed to be a school kid, which, I mean, you know, any school kid, if they had crazy biceps and all kinds of stuff like that going on, there'd be a problem. But that means that I can probably get away with just a plain shirt at this point. I don't know. No, like crazy biceps on a Graal character anyway. Usually, I've seen a few. You know, there are a few out there, but. Okay, so I'm also gonna pull this across, accentuate the corner a bit. And then this is gonna be belt territory down here. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. I think I'm missing some definition. I think there's some improvement that I can do down here. A little bit of dark. I'm also going to pull it across to here and down this corner on this part right here. I'm going to also change the color on these guys a little bit. Again, make it look a little shadowed down in the corner here. But I really want this particular pixel right here is super important to what I'm imagining, because it should have that little, like that should be apparent. Your eye should get drawn to the fact that there's a little cloak going on down there. And then the same thing on this side, right? We have that same one. There's going to be, I'll leave 1 pixel over here. It's going to be the same way. Actually, what I'm going to do this is jacket work. I'll do like that to make it apparent that it's coming out from the shadow of the hand and coming into the light down here. And I have one more bad interior pixeling right here. Did I hit any more of those? Is there any more? No, we're good. Okay. Okay, so I need a belt color now. You know, I know that it was a green color. Oh, and speaking of which, I should probably palette my darker green, give it some representation. Otherwise, I'll forget. And I need to take that green, and I'm going to make it something crazy. I know that it wasn't probably this color, but let's do a bright neon green for the belt. I had seen there was like a triangle. There was 2, actually. He had 2 belts. I don't know if I can pull off 2 belts. Sorry for that, but I'm going to actually eliminate the underlay so I can get a feel of where I was. It was little triangle shapes on his belt, and they were alternating triangle shapes. So I'm going to try and emulate that here. Especially at a low resolution, it becomes a little tricky, but not bad. I'm going to do the little box up here for the belt. And then I'm going to contrast that with like a kind of a brown. See if I can add a little bit of red to the green. Take a little green away, add a little blue. There we go, it's a nice brown color. Something like that. It's probably not going to be super visible, so maybe I want to desaturate that brown a little bit and brighten it up. Let's give it a shot. I'll pull it up a little bit so it sticks out, because it was really apparent. That belt was like super flashy. And now this is looking really unnatural right here, so I'm going to take this down. You know what? Let's pull this all the way down to here, and then kind of dial it back a little bit again. I want to avoid this layer because I want this to be apparent that it's not the same object. It just shouldn't band. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, kind of exaggerate my coat a little bit so that my my belt doesn't get caught in it. Okay, so that's pretty good. I think it's a little bit more along the lines of a Graal guy. I'm going to pull this up. This collar is saggy at best. I need to pull it out. I'm going to bring this color over a little bit. Oh, and that's all short, so it actually should be like this. There we go. Okay, so getting there. I think there's probably a couple of changes that I could make, but I'm going to basically call this one for now. I will improve it and come back again so you guys can see the progress next time. So there's part 2. I think it came a long way. The one thing that I'm not super happy with is the straight on that collar. So let's just quickly do something about that. It's quite straight across. And it should have a little bit of a curve to it. And I'm going to basically just pull that in from here. I'll copy that, not cut. And the same thing will cross over here. So I'm just going to copy these lower colors and pull them up. And then kind of deal with the aftermath down below here. So there is a little bit of stuff going on. Oh, and his darn chain, man. That chain, I don't know. I mean, the chain really is going to be hard to see. But I think what we need to do is create something like an object that pulls down but doesn't pull into these other colors. So let's get this one. So I've actually used the muted ones on this side, and I think I can get away with probably eliminating a lot of this. And this one should be dark, and this one should be, oops, that in between plum. Oh. Ooh, I like that. Cool. Okay. So I've just realized something. I've got the lighting effect. I got the lighting tracking down to a certain point on this side. I'm also going to bring it on this side. Do a little bit of perspective on those. Do one extra pixel down both. Cool. So that's actually going to give me some space for this up here to have that little chain or his little. You know what? We're going to do a thing, but it's not going to be as good. That's not a chain. What are you doing? It's a something. Okay. Do like this and like this. I think if that comes down a little bit, it'll be a little bit better. So ideally, this should be a large thing, right? But I'm dealing with a very small location here. This is a tiny little thing, and if I just do this, it's not going to look right. And it's also going to become almost impossible to animate in such a way where we have like a chain that's going to hang and shake or something if you're running or moving. I think that this is probably the best that I'm going to get on that. So the next step is to use these guys to accentuate it a little bit. I'll put this in here. Give a little bit of shadow. And I'm also going to desaturate those ones. Oh, no, wait. Desaturate these, and that way it's going to stick out a little bit more. I mean, it's there. It's not fantastic. I kind of want to add one more down a little bit further, but I feel like it's probably going to be overkill. Do like that. And I also want to bring this over here. I almost forgot my little button on this side. And we'll do one here too, because the opportunity presents itself. Okay, so yeah, I'm a little bit happier with this guy. I think he looks a little bit more close to the character. It's progress, especially knowing that we're not going to index this. Now I can kind of go nuts with the shading and stuff. So as we move along, I'm sure there'll be more progress as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please feel free to leave your tips or, you know, any feedback on what I've done here. Hope you're getting a kick out of it. I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you all next time.